Hello everyone. Since the release of 1.14 for the Bedrock Edition, I've been working to make a simple, low-maintenance honey farm. While some good designs exist, I believe there is still room to improve. Before getting started, I wanted to discuss my design goals. I want to make it fully modular with 1 block wide modules. This is to increase density as much as possible and to make it easy to assemble. I want to make it set and forget. Once the circuit is built, I should never have to touch it again. Bottle loading should be automatic. This means once I put the bottles in a chest or a hopper, the farm evenly distributes the bottles among the dispensers. Finally, I want to optimize the cost per module. While I'm not aiming to make the cheapest or simplest farm possible, I shouldn't be wasteful so the design is usable in survival mode. Alright, so now I'll show you the honey farm. As you can see, the bees' nests are already loaded with honey. This isn't a problem. I haven't loaded any bottles into the system yet. So I'll begin by loading those bottles. As you can see, once I load the bottles into the hopper minecart fills up with them and then distributes them into the modules. Now that the bottles have been distributed, I'll just load them into their respective dispensers. There seems to have been 1 extra glass bottle in my system. Now I'll harvest the honey by pressing that button. There we go, the honey is harvested. Now, at this point in the video, I actually made a small mistake. I actually have to load the bottles again because currently it's a honey bottle in the dispenser, which will not harvest honey, so it would be broken for the next time. Feel free to ask me about it in the comments. I just want to note this part here can be fully automated. I just didn't because it isn't necessary for the purposes of this demonstration. Alright, now on to how to build this farm. Just before I begin, I put down some posts so that I know exactly where I'm going to be putting my module and making sure it's spaced high enough so that it can be all visible. And another thing to note is that I'm using these blocks for specific reasons. So if it's purple terracotta, it must be opaque. If it's yellow terracotta, the opacity doesn't matter. If it's yellow glass, then it must be a transparent block. All right, so we'll begin by starting with some blue ice. We use a dropper here because droppers are cheaper than dispensers. Into this dropper, we place a hopper and then 1 more hopper on top of that. On top of this hopper, we place a dispenser facing up. This is where the beehive is going to go. All right, into this dispenser, we place a hopper, and underneath that hopper, we place a dropper facing up into this hopper. Finally, 1 more hopper into this dropper. This is the input hopper for the glass bottles. The glass bottles from this hopper are loaded into this dropper. This dropper fires the glass bottles into the hopper above it, which are then automatically loaded into this dispenser for the purposes of harvesting honey. The harvested honey is pulled into this hopper and down into the dropper where it is eventually fired into the water stream. We'll place an opaque block beneath the bottle input dropper and a torch on that. You can see that it's locking both this hopper and powering this dropper. Next we'll go on to the circuit for loading the bottles. We need a sticky piston right there and an observer there. We should also place an observer right underneath that block and a piece of redstone. All right. Place redstone on top of these 2 blocks. This must be transparent, sorry. This must also be transparent, terracotta, and place redstone on top of those 2 blocks. Comparators. So a single comparator there. Let's pull the redstone circuit back over top of this. This needs to be an opaque block. Redstone comparator there. And finally, one more opaque block in front of this comparator. I'm going to get the beehive in place as well. And one more redstone on here. So this circuit works similar to an item filter. We have 5 possible levels for a beehive. 1 through 5 and, well, 1 through 4 are a empty hive, and then 5 is the honey is ready to be harvested. So I made sure to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 redstone, and this will activate the circuit that passes another bottle in. Additionally, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this comparator passes the signal along only one more. It needs to be a comparator. If you put a redstone repeater here, then if you have these modules right next to each other, you will activate all of the dispensers in a line up to 15 blocks away. So obviously that is not a good thing to do. So at any given time, you will have an empty glass bottle in the dispenser underneath the honey block, 1 honey in this hopper, and then 1 honey inside this dropper. After 2 honey have been produced, every additional honey will go into the water stream we would put here. For the manual harvest circuit, we're going to put 2 blocks. Again, these don't need to be opaque, and they don't need to be transparent. I'll just add 1 more sticky piston right here, and then I'll put a redstone dust next to it as a placeholder. This observer resets the bottle loading circuit. This must be done every single time you reload the dropper from empty. Now for the final piece, the rail cart bottle loader. So all the way along, you will have hoppers in a line. At the very end, you're going to have 1 more block. Doesn't matter what type of block it is. Then you need a solid block here, and then you just need to power this block, or if you're lazy, you can just put a redstone block there, and that will turn on these rails. On the other side, we're going to put another powered rail, and then we're going to put a fence gate. This fence gate is used to block the hopper minecart from traveling down the track. Next, we're going to add a comparator, and we need an opaque block here so that the comparator can measure the load in the hopper minecart. This also needs to be opaque. Now we'll pull some transparent blocks back across towards where the fence gate is, and then we need an opaque block on top of the fence gate. And finally, we should make this a solid block. First, I'll put this down, add a detector rail here. This is to detect what level the hopper minecart is at. An opaque block there because we don't want the minecart to be able to exit the track out that side. A hopper. Put the hopper minecart on there. And to finish up, I'll wrap redstone back up and around over top of the fence gate. Depending on how many modules you have, you're going to want to place a redstone repeater somewhere along this redstone path. This determines how many bottles end up loaded in this hopper minecart. If you have twice as many bottles as you have modules, then every single time the cart goes across and back, it will load exactly 2 bottles into every single module, which is ideal because then you're not wasting any bottles, and the circuit should all be reset together. In this case, I only have 1 module, so basically I could just put the repeater there, or well, here, and then string some redstone across. But just for simplicity's sake, I'll just put a repeater there. And that's going to have the same timing, so this hopper minecart won't go across until there's about 40 bottles in it. And now it'll keep going back and forth until this item hopper is fully unloaded, and it has also put in at least, I think, 20 bottles into that hopper, which end up inside this dropper. Once the bottles have been loaded, you're going to want to activate the bottle reset at least once. Here I do it with a lever. I actually activated it twice, so there'll be an extra glass bottle. As you can see, I've added a lever here to turn off and on the harvest circuit. Turning it off disables the whole farm. It's nice to be able to disable that if you want to, but the primary purpose for me is just so I can reset the circuit whenever the bottles run out and I have to refill the bottles. Also, can't forget dirt and can't forget flowers. One important thing, I like to keep several open air blocks because I find if you have the bees in just a single level, they run into each other and have a hard time navigating around. But if you have just one air block above, then they seem to be able to navigate out of each other's way pretty easily. For ease of reference, here is the completed build. Let me know what you think of my design in the comments below. And if you found this tutorial helpful or enjoyable, feel free to leave a like. See ya!